and we will get underway. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the West Seattle Transportation Coalition's April virtual membership meeting. We are glad you could be here with us. We are recording for YouTube, and we are live for the second month in a row out to our Facebook page. So welcome folks who were surprised to find that happening out there. There we go. Tonight's agenda is some of our usual guests and longtime guests that you'll be familiar with, and we're excited to have some of those conversations with them again. As usual, we will do a quick little bit of business to approve previous meeting minutes from last March. For those who are not familiar with our YouTube channel, that is the really long alphabet soup of a code. We will encourage you, if you do stop by our YouTube channel, please click to subscribe. We have to get to a certain level of subscribers, and if we do, they'll let us change that alphabet soup into something that looks a little prettier, and so that's one of our goals we're aiming for. And if you do subscribe, click to get notified. At the moment, we're only putting up the monthly meeting videos, so you're not going to be inundated with subscriber updates. But that way, you'll always know as soon as the latest video is uploaded, and you can catch up on one of our meetings if you're not able to attend live like you are tonight. Once we do that, we will roll into a quick update conversation with the Seattle Department of Transportation about recent changes to access restrictions on the Lower Spokane Street Bridge. They'll give us some updates, I'm sure, on how bridge repair planning is coming. And that'll just be about 15, 20 minutes there, or I guess, sorry, 20, 25 minutes there. And then we are looking to start by 7:05 p.m. Our featured guest this evening is a conversation again with the Northwest Seaport Alliance. They're back to give us another quarterly update on Terminal 5 improvements. You can learn more about both of those projects, the West Seattle Bridge and Terminal 5 improvements, at those websites there, and those will pop up again later in the meeting. And then later on, we will be talking a little bit more again about our outreach to recruit new board members, what elections processes are going to look like. And if some of the interested individuals are with us tonight, we may ask you to introduce yourself. And if you are interested in running, we may take nominations. And then we will wrap up with some old business, any new business that's out there, and be wrapped by 8:30. Or if we're lucky, we'll be done before 8:30. Very quickly, if you have not been with us before, the West Seattle Transportation Coalition is a peninsula-wide organization working to address transportation and commuting challenges for the nearly 100,000 people living and working here on the West Seattle Peninsula. And it is a peninsula as much as we all feel like we're on an island right now. We do this by working to secure the support of residents, engaging elected officials at all levels. We partner with government agencies, as you see we're doing this evening, to achieve the best outcomes for all of us here on the peninsula. And we engage with businesses, community organizations, neighborhood groups, and individuals for education and collecting feedback. I see Martin Tallarico is raising his hand. Do you have a quick question to ask, Martin?
I just had an save the date to announce, but I could wait until after the presentation.
Yeah, can we leave that down to new business?
Sure, you bet. Thank you very much.
Our goals for the West Seattle Transportation Coalition are affordable and equitable transportation options, particularly in historically underserved neighborhoods, a transportation network that moves people and goods in an environmentally sustainable manner, investments in transportation infrastructure to match Seattle's growth. And our top priorities here in 2021 are keeping an eye on to restoring capacity in the West Seattle Bridge Transportation Corridor, continuing to advocate for funding maximum mobility while the High Bridge is closed, supporting ongoing Sound Transit 3 light rail planning, and monitoring progress on the Delridge Way and Rapid Ride H multimodal project progress. I am Michael Taylor Judd. I am the chair of the Transportation Coalition, and I'll be your host this evening. I'm going to give my co-host and fellow board member Kate a chance to introduce herself and remind you how to Zoom and chat and Q&A when the time comes.
Hi, my name's Kate Wells, and I'll be doing the question and answer. And there are a couple different ways that you can ask your question. If you want, you can raise your hand and I will call on you, or you can drop your question in the chat, or let me know in the chat that you have a question and then I can call on you that way. And I'll be keeping track of the order in which the requests come in as best I can. Back to you, Michael.
All right, thank you, Kate. And chat should be enabled now for guests. We are not going to do a big round robin and have everyone introduce themselves, but we do encourage you now that the chat is open. We'd love to know who you are and what brought you here. So if you can share your name, maybe pronouns or any access needs you have this evening, perhaps what neighborhood you're from. And I just realized I didn't change our question from last month. So we're going to do a repeat of last month's check-in question. Fun check-in is, as we're coming out slowly, folks are getting vaccinated and whatnot. What is the first business that you're excited to support here in West Seattle as we reopen Washington? And then if you did not receive our email notice about guests and reminder for tonight's meeting, we'd love to get you added to our WSTC email list. And our fellow board member, John Wright, you can send a private chat message directly to him in the chat window if you just switch the drop-down window. And feel free to send your email address that way. That way everyone else doesn't see your email address, and he'll get you added as soon as he can. And I see folks filling up the chat, so that sounds great. And with that, we'll do our quick bit of business here. Kate sent out minutes to the board members. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you very much. And with that, we will turn it over to our first guest of the evening, Seattle Department of Transportation. We have Heather Marks, who's Director of Downtown Mobility with SDOT, and she has support in the background from Madison Lincolnmeyer, who's a communications lead at SDOT. You should be able to take the screen here, Madison.
Hi, everyone. And Michael, thank you so much for recognizing Madison. She is critical to this operation. So I appreciate that other people see her wonderfulness too. As Michael said, I'm Heather Marks. I am the Director of Downtown Mobility and the Director of the West Seattle Bridge Safety Program. And I am happy to be here to present to you again this month. We're going to start off with some high and low bridge updates. And then we're going to talk about the low bridge access policy and outreach update. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. I want to note that, Michael, you sent some questions ahead of time, and I do believe that we've answered those in writing and sent them back. So if you want to discuss any of those questions, of course, happy to proceed with that. Next slide, please.
Nope, that was good. I think Marty will follow up if he's got follow-up questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. This is the schedule for both the high and low bridge structural rehabilitation work. It has not changed for quite some time, and it is not going to change until we reach our 60% design milestone. We expect to start construction at the end of this year and be done by mid-2022 for the high bridge, and by the third quarter of 2022 for the low bridge structural rehabilitation. Our RFQPA, our request for qualifications and project approach for the construction firm that's going to handle this work was closed on April 12th. I had to look at my calendar to make sure I had the right day. And we are in the process of reviewing the proposals that we have received and expect to have a decision on who we plan to hire, a decision that we can announce in May. Next slide, please. Okay, so where we are is we are keeping pace with our schedule. As I mentioned earlier, our next budget and schedule update will come this summer in early July. The high bridge stabilization work has been completed, as you know, and it is all performing as expected, which is excellent news and reduces my concern level quite a bit that this repair schema is going to work. So that's really great. We've also wanted to note that we've issued an addendum to the RFQPA to include a community workforce agreement component pending approval from USDOT. And as I mentioned, our contractor selection is on schedule. Next slide, please. The Low Bridge has some structural rehabilitation work that I was just talking about, but it also has some work that we need to do to keep it in good working order. The first is a controls project. You may or may not know that the communications controls for the Low Bridge are attached underneath the high bridge. And when the high bridge failed, we thought that maybe it was a good idea to not attach the controls for the Low Bridge to the high bridge. So we are going to do that through a horizontal directional drill. We are on schedule for that and expect to have that work done by the end of the year. In addition, there are these big cylinders that work to, it's a swing bridge. So the big cylinders are what rotate to open the bridge. Those need to be replaced periodically. And so our schedule for that is also to finish it before the end of the year. This is good timing because all of the work that we need to do there will be done by the time T5 is scheduled to open at the beginning of 2022. Next slide, please. So everyone who has heard me present knows that talking about low bridge access is possibly my least favorite thing to discuss, but we have some pretty good news. And so if we go to the next slide, I can tell you about it. So low bridge automated enforcement, as you all recall, started in January. And since then, we have been watching what automated enforcement is doing to the volume of the bridge. And we had hoped that we could expand access to the Low Bridge at least until Terminal 5 opens. In addition, we wanted to give some thanks to our friends at the Junction BIA and the West Seattle Chamber of Commerce for the pilot program that they helped us execute. We learned a lot. We also learned that there are lots of people that we hadn't heard from and hadn't talked to. And so we've made some efforts to reach out to other parts of the community. We are distributing that temporary excess in capacity in alignment with our updated goals, which we'll talk to you about in a moment, and are informed, of course, by our community outreach. All that access is conditional, except for transit freight and emergency vehicles. And so when Terminal 5 opens, we expect that the additional pressure brought to the system across the Low Bridge from the additional freight may require us to pull all that additional conditional access back. We are also preparing our program in case there are future challenges. So most users are given a monthly number of trips that they can take, and these can be increased or decreased to respond to what's happening with the non-conditional users, transit, freight, and emergency vehicles. All conditional users will be allowed fewer or no trips in 2022. So we want to be so upfront with that right now. Next slide, please. So we are temporarily doubling the number of daily trips allowed on the bridge in 2021. We're going to revoke that if we need to. The weekend morning hours have changed to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So you may not use the Low Bridge between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. The weekday restrictions are still 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have added access for people receiving life-saving medical treatment, and that application is available now. Next slide, please. Next week, translated access request forms are going to be available to all new users. So that will include on-call medical workers, West Seattle-based restaurants and retail businesses, and this is highly limited to urgent trips to pick up equipment or supplies. Rideshare vehicles, and rideshare in this case means vehicles that have been licensed by the Department of Licensing as rideshare vehicles. So vans, shuttles, or other official carpools with a state-issued rideshare license plate. This does not include Uber and Lyft. Ride hail is what we call Uber and Lyft. New requests from the Maritime and Industrial and ILWU communities. Next slide, please. So we have, like I said, been reaching out all across the peninsula to hear what people are thinking and what people's needs are for low bridge access. We've had community discussions with essential workers, small business owners, low income residents, Uber and Lyft drivers, seniors, and BIPOC community organizations. We've also had interviews with BIPOC owned and operated businesses, including restaurants, landscapers, plumbers, assisted living centers, janitors, hair and nail salons. We've also done some surveys with healthcare workers, Harbor Island employees, and social service providers in West Seattle. Next slide, please. So these are, it's funny, when the team came back to me after going out and doing a bunch of additional outreach and told me what they heard, I was like, well, that's pretty much what we know. So the travel times have tripled and doubled for some people. There are challenges with increased cost of doing businesses as travel distance and time have increased. Obviously, there's some challenges with material sourcing. There's concern over healthcare patients spending more time driving. There are concerns about delaying critical medical care because of the increased distance and cost. The increased travel time impacts people getting to and from their workplaces. And of course, parents are concerned about the need to take their child across the bridge for a medical emergency. Like I said, none of this comes as a surprise, and it is an unfortunate, and by unfortunate, I mean a really, really difficult aspect of having the high bridge closed. We just simply have fewer lanes, and they are located less conveniently for people in some parts of the peninsula. Next slide, please. So here are the program goals and objectives, and we wrote those down because they are the benchmark by which we decide how we're going to go forward with certain any requests that come through. So our goals include life, health and safety, mobility and system operations, and of course, economic growth and sustainability. These all felt like things that are particularly important as we are trying to move through the pandemic and come out on some kind of good foot at the end of it. We want to ensure reliable travel times for emergency vehicles. We want to prioritize trips that improve patient and provider access. We want to make sure that we maintain the Spokane Street corridor performance throughout the day. So that means a one-to-one recovery time. So when we have to open the bridge, if it's a 10-minute opening, we want to make sure that the traffic system recovering to a stasis also takes 10 minutes. We are continuing, as we have from the very beginning, to prioritize public transit, high capacity modes, and high occupancy vehicles. And we also have a goal to reduce single occupant travel and detour route congestion. We simply don't have the room right now for everybody to drive their single occupant vehicle as normal. Of course, we've also prioritized freight movements to support economic health, and we want to support small businesses, especially businesses who have been particularly acutely impacted by COVID. And as it turns out, those are restaurant and retail businesses. Next slide, please. So this table shows you the changes in trips per day The first column shows the conditional user group. The next column shows you the new allotment of trips per day. And then the next column shows the old allotment. So if you do a little math there, you can see how much each of these groups have increased their access to the Low Bridge. Next slide, please. These are some pie charts that show you what things we think things are going to look like when Terminal 5 opens. I know it's a little hard to read, but the important thing to look at here is the purple pie wedge. So the pie chart on the left side of your screen, that's a pretty good size wedge. Those are the conditional users. And so general freight, as you can see, is the very largest, the very largest section of this pie. And you can see in the second pie chart that that general freight slice of pie, it's not even a slice anymore. It's really, you know, most of the pie. It's the amount of pie that I would like to eat all the way over. And so you see that purple wedge becomes very, very thin. And so that's when we will have some important decisions to make about how to roll back the temporary access that we have granted just now. Next slide, please. Slide, not slice. I was still on the pie. So our next steps are to continue our outreach and engagement. We want to make sure that everybody understands what the rules are, because you will get a ticket if you are using that Low Bridge in an unauthorized fashion. We are not considering new trips authorized until you've received approval from SDOT. And the license plate that you're using is in the system. We can only do this once a month. So keep in mind that the existing crop of users is going to remain unchanged through the end of May. People have to meet the criteria. They have to apply, provide a license plate, and receive approval before they can use that Low Bridge. The daily and monthly number of trips may be adjusted upwards or downwards based on Low Bridge use. And monitoring and data analysis, of course, continues to inform the number of trips that can be taken every month and prepares us for future changes, as I've mentioned several times before, particularly when Terminal 5 opens. Next slide, please. Okay, any questions? I noticed the chat kind of going nuts a little bit, but I haven't read them.
I'll give Kate a chance to look through those and see what's coming to the surface.
I guess I got a
Can you
question.
clarify for us again, though, Heather, while Kate's doing that?
Sure.
I mean, obviously, if you call an ambulance, the ambulance goes across the Lower Ridge, and
Yes.
they're not getting ticketed. But because this sort of keeps coming up as some sort of excuse, I assume if I'm have a family member with a life-threatening emergency and I drive across that bridge because it's a life-threatening emergency, there's an appeal option for me to prove that in
Certainly.
fact that was the case, and I shouldn't be concerned about a $75 ticket.
No, I want to make clear that SDOT is not going to adjudicate those. That'll be the municipal court. And so just like any other kind of traffic ticket, you would go to muni court and plead your case. And if I were the judge, chances would be good that you would that would be waived. But I can't, obviously that's not the role I'm in right now. So just wanted to make sure that everyone's clear that at that point it's a municipal court matter.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, for Pete's sake, if your wife's in labor, take her across the Low Bridge. Like, don't be silly. Okay. What else?
Did you have more, Michael, or, okay.
I have a
So Mark,
question.
I've got one question ahead of you and then I'll call on you. So how is this repair schedule any different from any non-emergency construction schedule? Is it really being treated as an emergency?
Oh yes. If this were a normal project, which there's nothing about this that's normal. First of all, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have an effort that included mitigation, the robust communications that we have, as well as the construction. And we would have taken a lot more time to plan and design and, go through sort of a more normal capital process. We're moving extremely fast. And I know that is hard to, it's hard to understand. It's hard to take when you live in West Seattle, as I do. But, we are spending public money, and there are rules for transparency. And so we can't just go for it in a different way.
All right, Mark, you're up next.
Well, partly, I think, the schedule could be expedited faster. It's frustrating. I think a number of the fixes are already known what needs to be done. And that could be, the reinforcing steel and some things could be ordered now. I think it's more or less that the city's
They are, Mark.
not.
They are.
I just sense that it could be done faster. And secondly, I'm really concerned with this fall. I live in Admiral. There is no midday bus service, and I have not heard of activity talking about midday bus service for vast portions of West Seattle. Things are going to be opened back up, and I fully expect to be able, it doesn't have to be on a 15-minute schedule, but at least an hourly schedule so you can get to downtown Seattle for things in the middle of the day. If you don't provide that, you've not provided an alternative for many people.
Yeah, so we are working very carefully with King County Metro. They have their own constraints. And so it might be an idea, Mark and Michael, to invite King County Metro in and ask them those questions.
Well, I think it's SDOT's responsibility to provide a reasonable alternative for people in West Seattle. Bikes, I work with my bike all the time right now because the weather's nice, but that's not really a viable thing. And I also have an issue with concerns with night shift workers, medical workers, in particular with 12-hour shifts that are leaving West Seattle, and there's no bus service, and you don't want night shift medical workers riding a bike in the middle of the night. Yet they're, I know with my wife, she's been late several times to work. It's taken over an hour to get home from work. That used to be a 15-minute commute, and she's going off-peak direction. So is there a way to open up windows of use for, say, 12-hour medical shift workers? I know if she was on call, she could get a little form, but it's not just her, but there's a lot of medical workers that are critical care workers.
Yeah, we'll note that. And if additional capacity, additional space opens up on the bridge, that would be a population of folks that we would consider. Absolutely.
And we've talked to Metro, Heather. In fact, we continue to let Metro in our electeds, and I know we have we have staff for our council, District 1 council member on the call at the moment. Like, we've been pretty clear that they're consistent requests for midday service from Admiral and Arbor Heights. But one of the big things that we want to keep reminding SDOT is, there is mitigation funds, and there is, TBD funds, so that the city has the ability to buy some specific hours and a few specific runs from Metro if that's a priority for the city.
Yeah, thanks for that, Michael. And we actually are spending every single dollar of those TBD funds. Because of the way Metro's service changes are set up, those changes will take place at their September service change, which is now going to be a very early October service change to match up with the opening of Sound Transit to North Gate. So yeah, we talk to Metro like every single day. So we are well aware of our limited powers to influence Metro and how they spend their money. I do want to note that most of that mitigation money, the only mitigation money that's available for operations like buying bus service is the STBD money. The rest of it's only available for capital. It's real estate excise tax backed bonds, and bonds like that are only available for capital.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next question in the queue. Does the number of Harbor Island workers exceed capacity, or is the
Yes.
number low? Or
It exceeds capacity.
it does exceed capacity?
Yes.
Okay.
Even just the Harbor Island workers just the workers who work for SSA exceeds the capacity. So.
Well, you gotta remember,
And
the
tag on.
SDOT's capacity is real low compared to what most traffic engineers would consider capacity.
Moving on.
Can the longshoremen be dispatched from home? I know that's not quite your call, but
Some longshoremen are dispatched from home. Yeah, there are 3 different locals, and I'm not going to remember the number. Is this you, Andrew, that's asking this question? There are 3 different locals, and the largest of them they're the ones that are dispatched from their union hall on East Marginal Way. It's my understanding. Did you watch, I think it was season 3 of The Wire? Do you remember? Well,
didn't watch that.
It's a pretty good show. But bottom line is those union members go to the hall, and based on seniority and other kinds of rules, they get dispatched as ships come in. And so they have to be dispatched from a union hall. One of the things that we're working with ILWU and SSA and the port on is the possibility of ILWU using a shuttle, like a bigger vehicle, like a bus, from the union hall to the terminal where they're going to do their work. There has been some resistance to that, but I'll tell you, at a certain point, pretty soon, they're not going to have a choice. So we're doing the best we can with that. I can't tell you how much I understand how inconvenient this is. And I wish I could give everybody what they wanted. I really do.
What's the real number for Harbor Island workers that live in West Seattle? Because I was never actually given a number. I was just given
the number we got from SSA, just SSA, is 300.
that live in West Seattle.
Yeah.
Is that counting? Is that counting longshoremen?
No, the longshoremen are counted totally separately.
Okay.
It's a lot. If I worked on Harbor Island, I'd live in West Seattle too. Totally makes sense. So I'm not that surprised with the size of the number.
Thank
I'm
you for
sorry.
thank you for looking into that for us.
You bet.
I want to make sure we wrap and get on to our next guests. But I'm going to lift one last question that I saw come into the chat because I'm kind of curious, and I know a few other people have asked about it. Jeremy Barton asks, can we get the new right turn only lane, yay, from Highland Park to Marginal Way to have a green right arrow to reduce the stop on red delay when Marginal Way has a left turn onto Highland Park? And I know that's how it was when it first got put in. So did SDOT determine some safety risks or something? Because a bunch of us noticed that went away.
Well, I'm dying to know what Mark has to say.
Well, basically you can't do it because if you have a large truck turning right and a large truck turning left, there's not room to make it happen.
Yeah,
so therefore, right now you can't do it, but most drivers can figure it out. If there's what I call the southbound to eastbound left turn is green, most drivers that are going westbound to northbound have figured out they can go in the overlap. Large trucks can't.
Yeah,
that's why the overlap's not there right now.
You're right, Mark. That's exactly right. If it's 2 people in an SUV, it's fine, but it's not fine for 2 trucks.
That makes sense.
And we would encourage everyone to follow the law when they're driving.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much as always.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope you will join us again next month.
Always a pleasure. Lindsay and Mick, is it okay if I take off?
Oh, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
This is recorded. You can catch up later.
Don't worry, Heather, you already know what we're going to say, so it's all good.
Pardon me, Michael.
Yes.
Before Heather leaves, I noticed in the chat that our esteemed correspondent from West Seattle Blog had a question.
Oh. Yes, well, I hope the port will indulge us. We definitely want to get media coverage. So yeah, John or Kate, want to read that?
The legislature couldn't reach agreement on a transportation package. Is any funding for bridge repair affected by that, or was state funding not a factor?
Let me think about the right way to answer that question. We were hoping to have a state transportation package pay for a portion of this program. We also have within our plan enough REIT-backed bonds. We'd have to do another bond sale to fund it. So we're going to fix the bridge no matter what. It's just a bummer that the state legislature wasn't able to come up with an agreement here, because what it means for the city is that the city is going to have to pay a larger share of repairing this regional facility. We were hoping that the state could pull it together, but it's a weird session and a weird year for everyone. So perhaps we're not 100% surprised that they weren't able to come up with a package. Having the legislature come up with a transportation package in a totally normal year is hard enough. So with all love and respect to any legislators that may happen to be on the line.
All right. Thanks for catching that, John. We will see you again soon, Heather.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm going to very quickly here introduce our next guest. Whoops. Sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully, if you are longtime supporters, you will be familiar with our guest this evening. But once again, we're going to have a conversation with the Northwest Seaport Alliance. I believe tonight we have Thais Howard, I hope I got that correct, Director of Engineering with the Northwest Seaport Alliance. Emma Del Vento is back with us again, who's the Capital Program Leader at the Port of Seattle. Christine Wolf is a Transportation Planner at the Northwest Seaport Alliance. And one of our longtime friends, Mick Schultz, Program Manager of Public Affairs at the Port of Seattle.
And we also have our friend Lindsay Wolpa.
Oh, right, Lindsay. How did I miss Lindsay, who's definitely been with us before and a longtime friend. I totally apologize that you're not,
okay.
You didn't get a bullet point.
That's okay. It's happened before, and I will say on her behalf, it's Thais.
Thais, thank you. Well, we're welcome to everyone. I believe, Mick, you're going to be taking over to show the slides now.
Yeah, I will present the slides and our speakers will speak. So let me just call that up.
All right, take it away.
All right, hello everyone. As the host mentioned, I'm Thais Howard, Director of the Northwest Seaport Alliance. This is my first opportunity to be with you during one of your meetings, and I thank you for the opportunity. And tonight we're going to just present an update on our T5 modernization program. You all are familiar with the program, so we're just going to kind of give you, a status of where we are. As a reminder, I just want to share with everyone that the Northwest Seaport Alliance, we were formed as a partnership between the Port of Seattle and the Port of Tacoma to manage the Gateway's cargo business. The T5 modernization program is a part of our plan to create 4 strategic terminals in the Gateway, 2 of those at the Port of Seattle and 2 at the Port of Tacoma. And the T5 program is one of those strategic terminals. And this is an important project for us in order to meet those goals. And it allows us to be able to have ultra large container vessels to call here in the region. And once it's complete, we'll be able to handle those vessels, but also it makes us more competitive and increases our cargo handling capacity. It supports economic development, and it also creates and secure current jobs in the region for the next 30 years and likely beyond. So with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to our program manager, Emma Del Vento, and she will review the status of the project today.
Hey everyone, how's the audio coming in? All right. Well, good to be here again. Lovely to see you all, and the weather's got decidedly better, so that's nice. So how's T5 moving along? Well, we are making really good progress at the berth modernization, and that is the top bullet. And so we have what's called phase 1, or the north berth, getting ready in 7 weeks or 8 weeks for crane delivery, so early June. So that is a really major milestone, and we're getting really excited about that. This week is another major milestone heading to that we're doing the electrical cutover from the previous electrical system to the one that we've installed. So we're all waiting with bated breath on Friday night if the switch turns on. Hey. And then the south berth, which is almost in the middle of the screen there, or phase 2, that recently started construction and is going to be complete by the end of 2022. Then the other elements are the upland improvements, so everything away from the berth. Those are the permit conditions that Christine can do a deep dive into. So those are all the traffic, rail, truck, mitigation measures on and around the terminal, and then the lease obligations. So those agreements that we've come to with the tenant around major projects such as the stormwater, number of gate improvements, and then some marine buildings. We can go to the next slide. So I couldn't believe it the other day. I realized, oh my gosh, the first quarter of 2021 is already over. And I think I gave you the highlights of what's happening in here a little too early. So sorry, I'm out of sync with the slides. But yeah, very soon the north berth is going to be ready here. And then we're getting ready for the next in-water work window that's going to start in August. So we have a lot to do there with putting in the slope stabilization and structural pile for the south berth, and then finishing our toe wall for the north berth. Okay, so we can move along to the next slide. These are some pictures of what's happening on site. And of interest on the left-hand side are the crane rails that are going in, and these are soon to be grouted in the next few weeks, and then the pavement's going to be finished. And then on the right-hand side is the area around the new substation. So any of you that live so you can see it, or that you drive next to it, you can see the new substation, and then you'll be able to see all the pavement that's happening out there. Our budget's moving along a little bit over the estimate, likely depending on how we land on some of the more recent negotiations to get the terminal operational along with our tenant partner. So we'll probably be ready to inform commission of some final numbers in the next few months. And so that is another element that we're keeping track of. And we're really pleased to have 3 major grants, 2 state and 1 federal, the PIDP grant. So that is a really major success for the program. Then the next one looks at a schedule, which we've looked in summary terms. The slide shows that we are just about halfway through, and we are. And the top bar are those, what we're doing in the berth. So the light blue is the north berth, phase 1 coming to closure. The darker blue is phase 2 kicking off, and that's going to finish by the end of 2022. And then below that are all the permit conditions and lease obligations that are made to support the berth functioning, working, and being constructed in concert with the berth. Then the next slide, let's see. All right, this is traffic mitigation measures, and I will turn it over to the expert. Thanks, Christine.
Christine, you're on mute.
Okay, that will
There you go.
work. Yeah, the light is a little bit hard. I couldn't see that. I didn't do that earlier. Thanks, everybody. I'm glad to be here again with you. And since we are getting ready to turn the terminal over to our tenant, we thought it would be good to give you an overview of what we've done with regard to the master use permit conditions that are intended to mitigate the impacts on that the terminal has on the community at large. So I'll start with the traffic mitigation measures. What you're seeing here, every little star is an intersection where we have improved the actual brain of the controller for the intersection. All of them are now tied together so that they can function in sync, and all of them are connected to the city's traffic management center so that the folks there can make adjustments to traffic as it happens if necessary. There's actually one of those stars isn't quite in yet, and that's the one on East Marginal Way. So that's the one that's out of line. And that one, SDOT will put in when they start working on the new bike path on East Marginal Way, either next year or in a couple of years, depending on their funding situation. But everything else is in and fully functional. We also restriped the bridge to T5, and that's sort of that squiggle between the second and third star from the west. We restriped that so that the trucks have their own lane and our neighbors and labor can access the terminal directly. We also made some adjustments to striping and wayfinding to help out our industrial neighbors in the area. And we implemented a flashing alert sign that warns folks who want to head for the terminal at the surface if there's a train, so that they can make alternate adjustments. And then the other thing that we have done recently is we finished design of the railroad quiet zone. We're still working on implementation closely with SDOT and the BNSF to actually get started to construct that next year. You know, obviously, some of the intersections where we will make adjustments to be able to put the quiet zone in so that the train conductors, engineers don't have to toot their horn, affects West Marginal Way, and we definitely don't want to be in the way and causing more chaos there. So that's one of the reasons why construction is a little bit delayed, but it will definitely happen. And then we have two other permit conditions around traffic, and one is removing that northbound leg towards the terminal at the 5-way intersection by the Chelan Cafe. Those have been a bike path that goes to the West Marginal, no, it's Marginal Way West Place, right? So folks to get up to the bridge and head east towards downtown. Those are also designed and they will be implemented at the same time as the quiet zone itself. Obviously, that will help a lot with traffic in that intersection if we can take that leg out of commission. And we also have a couple of systems that are in place that will go live when the terminal opens for business. We have a system that tells truck drivers what the situation at the gate is so that they or the dispatchers can make decisions if it's too busy and they can go someplace else. We already have a noise hotline that's ready to roll. We just need trucks to roll in the terminal to open for, in order to open it up. And then we actually have an approved air emissions plan and a noise management plan that the terminal will be operating under. The only thing that we haven't finished yet is a plan to manage the trucks that are entering the terminal and to minimize queuing in the public right of way. Getting that completed is to some extent complicated by bridge issues, but we are working very hard with our tenant and ESTA to get that done, and it will get done before the trucks start rolling in greater numbers. That's it as far as I'm concerned. I'd be happy to try and answer questions you might have.
This is Deb. I did have a question for Christine.
Go ahead.
My question that I typed in, do you not have any other visual other than that aerial to show what's going on at the 5-way?
We don't really have a simplified drawing. What we do have is a construction, is a design drawing.
And that's something I can maybe share, Christine. I'll let you see it, and then we can get it to the group.
Yeah, it's just a construction drawing. There's a lot of people beyond the truckers, etc., who will be utilizing that intersection, and it would be useful to understand in advance what's going to be different.
Deb, it's actually going to be very easy for everybody else, because what we're doing is simply we're cutting off that north leg that heads toward Terminal 5. There will be a crossing of the railroad tracks for bikes and non-motorized traffic. And then we will just, so we'll close that leg, and then we will build a sidewalk and bike path across that in front of the of where the crossing is, and that will, as I said, that will head towards the intersection with Marginal Way West Place, or whatever it's called, and then folks can use the existing pit signal there and head up towards the low bridge and go east.
Yeah, that's really, Christine's explanation is great, but it is really good feedback for us to work on a visual, because I think we deal with it every day. And so for us, it's just second nature. And so I think I know which one Emma's looking for, but I'm not sure it's going to be exactly what you're talking about. So this is something that we can work on. And as we get closer to that, we'll have something that we can show. So I hear you loud and clear, but we'll work on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
We'd love to get that, because this sounds like, I remember having this conversation with folks. It seems like it was years and years ago, back when all this was early planning. Yeah. And so I think I know what you're talking about, and it's going to be really great. And I know we would love to be able to share that around the neighborhoods here, because we think people are going to be really excited when that flyover gets built.
Yeah, no more egg frying on the intersection waiting for the signal to turn.
All right, I've noticed that a number of questions got answered in the chat, but I was thinking maybe we should read them out and have them answered anyway, so they're recorded.
Kate, we have a little bit more of the presentation. Should we finish up the presentation?
Oh, I'm sorry.
First?
I thought we were, yeah,
no,
absolutely.
we took it aside because I wanted Emma to wrap it up here.
Okay,
yeah, this is our final slide, I think.
Yeah, this is it. So yeah, what's coming up? So this quarter has come and gone. We did start the North Marine building, so that's pretty exciting. Actually, the photos today show that the slabs in and the vertical structures are going up, and it's a panel building. So if you get a chance to look over there, it's going to go up pretty fast. Then, as I said, we're holding our breath for Seattle City Lights. So Friday, if you hear the telltale signs of electrical going, we'll all be happy. We have our tenant partner has awarded the first part of the stormwater bid package, so we'll get going with construction of that in the next few months. The rail quiet zone is at 100% design, and we have finalized all but one of the permit occupancy conditions. So everything that we were looking to do in Q1 is underway. Q2, it's those Northwest 4 cranes getting delivered that is going to be just so super exciting coming in from the factory. And maybe Lindsay, you can provide a little bit more on the event planning going on around that. And then we are looking at more construction, and then getting those permits all approved for the end of substantial completion of the North Berth. So yeah, big milestones coming up. That is it for me.
All right, that's it for everybody then?
Now over to you, Kate. Thanks.
All right. So Victoria had a question about the big lineup of trucks headed to Harbor Island today, all the way up to back to I-5. So how will that be fixed going forward?
Good question. Good question. We apologize. What's happening right now is you are seeing the results of the COVID pandemic and its impact on the economy. You know, over the last year, people who are still making money weren't traveling, you know, they weren't going to restaurants or Mariners games. So people have started buying stuff instead of spending their money in a different way. And it's still coming. Our volumes are up like 25% over what they were last year on a regular basis. And then the other thing that's happened, that California, the two large ports there in LA and Long Beach, had major issues with COVID infections on the part of the labor force that is working the terminals there. So at one point in time, they had like 40 ships stacked up waiting to be unloaded in the harbor. And so we are starting to get some of that overflow. They don't stop in California and they come up here. And this week and next week are particularly busy. Then it's supposed to calm down a little bit again. And actually the terminal operator is actively trying to manage that. They are putting some ships that should normally call at T18. Those are calling at T30 right now. And obviously it will really, really help a lot when T5 opens, because then some of that volume that congests Terminal 18 will move to T5 and it'll be more spread out. We're also working with ESTA to see what we can do to improve the Lower Spokane Street corridor, in particular that goal point that is around the intersection with East Marginal Way and where 99 and the northbound I-5 off-ramp comes down. We're actually trying to do what we can, and we'll have to break up some concrete to put an additional lane in so that we can separate traffic some more. Those are some of the things that are in the works.
By in the works, when will they be done?
Yes, of course. I mean, well, I mean, we're still working on the money part for the channelization on West Marsh, on Lower Spokane, but all the other things are already happening. And the terminal operator is actually also up, you know, it may not look like it, but they're really doing a lot that they wouldn't normally do, like they spend extra money on weekend gates. And they shut the terminal down early today so that they could process everything that was in the terminal and give themselves a little bit more room to maneuver, so that they have an easier time getting the trucks through the terminal than they had today.
Can I jump in with a follow-up question? Because, and this is my ignorance on what the expectation is when you bring in these major big container ships. But if we're struggling now to get the traffic on and off Harbor Island or T5 even when that gets activated. Then you add these huge ships. I just don't see how that's going to be processed through the corridor better if we're struggling now with just this sudden influx of trucks. I mean, I've seen this periodically, these trucks backing up, way backing up, and we don't have the expected traffic coming in from these major ships yet. So I guess that's my concern or my question.
Good question, Victoria. But as I said, some of that traffic, the T18 is really overbooked right now because of what I was explaining earlier. And so some of that traffic will move to T5, as I said earlier, so it'll spread out a little bit more. And then, hopefully the economy will stabilize, and when people can travel again and go to restaurants and the movie theater and the theater to go out and spend money somewhere else, we're not spending that money on stuff anymore. That extreme volume that we're seeing right now will normalize itself again. Everybody presumes in the industry who's watching this stuff. And what else was I going to say? And the other thing is, we are not what's in the industry called a port of first call. That's California, because they have a huge population base. Most of those really large ships go there first. They drop a lot of the cargo they have, and then they keep going to us. And so just because there's a big ship in port doesn't necessarily mean that we're getting more cargo, or if we get more cargo with those larger ships, if there's more cargo on individual ships, we don't get the same number of ships because there's more on those larger ones. And so where we might normally in the past have gotten 6 ships, maybe we get 3 or 4. And then actually, in order to function, the terminal does spread out, when people can drop off export cargo and then when they can take up import cargo. So there are some peaks that happen when ships come into port, but it's not like this. It's more like this.
Just to add on in there, I see John asked a really good question. Part of the reason why T5 has been so important to us is because of the great rail yard that's there. And that is going to help. So Victoria, that's a big piece of what the plan is eventually, this won't be at the start, but eventually the target is to have 75% of those, I think it's, Christian, correct me if I'm wrong, is 75% of those boxes moving by rail. So that is a big hope. It's more efficient. All of the things that Christine said are absolutely true. I can doubt, sorry, that's my tiny human in the background playing with Dad. The other piece that is the West Seattle Bridge has been a significant thing that has been a factor because the high bridge is not open. And so there's been more, yes, I understand that there's limited access in the low bridge, but it still is tough to get through there.
Okay. I'm going to keep going through the questions then. How is the improvement to Terminal 5 and the upgrades replacement to Jack Block Park related, or are they completely separate activities with no commonalities?
They are completely separate. Jack Block Park was originally a part of mitigation for T5 or an earlier iteration of T5, but this the survey that I'm assuming many of you have seen is about upgrades to the park now that we're doing based the pier needs some help, and so we're looking at a variety of different upgrades. So they happen to be separate, but they're in the same vicinity.
Okay. Are the stormwater design plans available to view online?
I have to admit, we will have to get back to you. I don't know the answer to that question.
Emma or Thais, can you jump in there?
Yeah, I believe that not, because our tenant partner has developed those. Is there something specific you'd like to see, and we can provide that?
Deb?
This is Deb, and I'm unmuted. I know that there have been folks who are curious about what's involved in those plans. So I don't have anything specific, but the fact that that they should be a public record so that anybody can know what's proposed, I think is important. Even just a schematic, it doesn't have to be construction drawings.
Right.
But again, having transparency about what's proposed.
I'll get that. Thanks.
I see Thais has come on. Thais, do you have something to add?
No. I think that's reasonable because once again, I think we have previously said that construction documents may not be very useful. So I was just going to propose maybe something short of construction documents, but maybe we could come up with something that describes what the system is, what the treatment type is, and those sorts of things.
I'm
versus
sure that
construction documents.
Absolutely, yeah. Construction drawings are kind of useless when you're just looking for an overview, but I would try and do a visual instead of text.
And Deb, we had talked at the D1CN group a number of weeks ago about presenting. So if you want us to get together and do a stormwater presentation, either a D1, if that's something that's of interest, either through West Seattle Transportation Coalition or at D1CN, we are happy to get that set up.
Right. I think that was Craig Rankin up at Highland Park who expressed the interest. And it may be more of a one-on-one sort of discussion with him. So that's why if there's something for him to view that's available, it'll save you guys time for mobilizing and meeting one person.
We're happy either way. So no, I mean, seriously, I mean, we are a public agency. And so whatever is the preference. And we know this is a critical project in the community. And so it's up to Craig, it's up to the group. So we're happy to do it either way.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Okay, where are the cranes coming from and how long will they be in transit?
Yeah, Lindsay got it right. They're coming from a factory in China called ZPMC. And yeah, we believe they're going to take about 4 weeks and they haven't left yet.
Okay. And thank you for bearing with me. I just want to make sure the questions get captured in the recording. So what keeps the port from buying cranes domestically? Is there no capable manufacturer in North or South America?
I think you're right. I don't think we have any more, I want to say North American manufacturers. The prior ones, if I remember the markings, were Japanese, the older ones. I want to say something like Mitsubishi or something, but I'm sure I got the name wrong. But so yeah, I'll have to look into that if you want a better answer.
And
also, I want to point out that the port is not buying the cranes for the T5 project.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
SSA.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
They will own the cranes, and I also the most recent cranes that have come through the Seaport Alliance that are down in Tacoma came from the same place as well. But we can happily circle back on that.
I typed a little response to that in the chat. ZPMC was kind of the new thing 25 years ago, and they have really taken on probably at least half of the world market in container cranes in that time. And they are, I believe, a partially state-owned company.
Yeah, and we actually looked hard to see whether, because when we get grant money from the federal government, they are by American rules, and it was just too expensive. And I think the reason for that is that the type of steel that is used to make those cranes, there is no manufacturing capacity in the United States any longer.
So what if consumers don't change their buying habits and buy everything to be delivered? Are you planning for that potential?
I wish we had our director of operations with us today. We didn't. Zach Thomas, who I think has been to one of these meetings before. Thais, you want to jump in here?
I was just going to say, Lindsay, to a comment that you had put in the chat earlier, is that is one of the important features of having T5 up and running as well, because you have the same operator at both locations, and they could probably do a better job of managing that cargo. But it's one of those things. It's a good thing for the gateway, but it does cause headaches and traffic, unfortunately.
these are all pieces that we're continuing to look at in terms of access, working with the city, working with other neighbors on these issues. You know, we hear from our neighbors on Harbor Island on a regular basis. And so these are things that we're not perfect. Our operator's not perfect. And it's something that we're working through. And I think now I've learned my lesson that we'll make sure that Zach is with us at the next meeting, because he's much better at these questions, these particular types of questions.
So when T5 opens, how will traffic affect people trying to get off Harbor Island?
If they're going west to West Seattle,
Well, here,
Andrew?
yeah, my question is because now we can't travel. Well, West Seattle residents that work on Harbor Island would normally travel across the low bridge into West Seattle. We can't do that now. Now we have to go east. And my concern is that once T5 opens, we're going to have a major backup of trucks trying to exit Harbor Island on the east side, just like everybody else. So I can foresee a lot of traffic down there.
One component of our permits, which I think Christine touched on this, is a gatekeeper management plan, and we're finalizing that with our tenant. That will need to be approved by SDOT. That helps minimize some of those backups, and so there's all sorts of pieces within that I think should help a bit. But yeah, it's going to be, especially with the bridge down, it's going to be extra tough for a little bit. But it's something that we have been spending a lot of time with SDOT working through and planning for those issues. And I think we're going to try to manage it with our tenant and with SDOT as best we can.
Yeah, I understand that, but to mitigate the traffic wise, send those people that live in West Seattle that work on Harbor Island. I know you're not in charge of this, but back over the bridge like they've always used versus the rest of the Harbor Island workers. I'm just saying it would minimize traffic a lot.
Well, once the high bridge is open, then you can use the bridge again. And
No. We never used the high bridge.
No, that you can use the low bridge again.
Andrew, I understand your concern. As you know, that is a SDOT asset. SDOT's not here to answer. I think that is a conversation that I'm happy to continue with SDOT if that helps with flow. If we get into the time and we find there's more issues there, we'll address that. But I think that is an interesting point in terms of impacts. I think, as you know, it's tough because people are leaving at different times on and off from shifts on Harbor Island. And so depending on when surges are, but I think it would be a good thing for some tracking from SDOT. So I'll follow up with them on that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Is there holding space? Oh, is there something else? Okay. Is there holding space for trucks outside the city so that they don't end up parked on city streets waiting for the harbor to be ready, like the cell phone waiting lot at the airport?
Christine, you want to take that? This is a long time thing. That's a challenge. Christine, you want to take a first crack at that one?
Yeah, so, you know, at our terminals in Seattle, the truck holding area is on the terminal. You know, all of our terminals have those large open areas where trucks can wait until they get processed at the gate proper. And as we were saying, it's not always enough. And most of the time when we have problems is early in the morning when people show up for work, when the truck drivers are showing up early to get as many loads in as possible over the course of the working day. And so that's difficult to manage because, you know, they're often independent business owners and we can't tell them what not to do. It's just like you know, if you're a landlord, you know, you can't tell your restaurant how many people they can let in. But as Lindsay was saying, we're trying very hard to work with our tenant, and we have a provision in their lease with the Gatekeeper management plan. And you know, technology is improving all the time. You know, the terminal has an appointment, the T18 has an appointment system right now for certain kinds of loads. and technology to better communicate and manage those kinds of systems. Those links in the supply chain is getting better all the time. So that's obviously no guarantee that there will never be any queues, but everybody is aware that that's an issue and we're working on it. And just as a reminder, as I was saying earlier, we've worked with the city and implemented some of these measures that are designed to mitigate the traffic impacts that the terminal is expected to have on the roadway system, which is why we're improving all the traffic signals in the Lower Spokane Street corridor. And we actually put in 1 or 2 new ones that hadn't been there before. And some cameras that help the SDOT folks in the traffic management center see when there are problems and act on those, which they couldn't do before.
And just to add in, also, some folks might be aware that the port and the Alliance hosts a truck parking lot on T25 South, which is just on the other side of the East Waterway. So we do have that there currently. It's for free. We fit about 140 trucks in there. It's something that's been a priority. We have been trying to work on with the city to find additional space. Some of that area underneath the bridge is something that, as folks have seen, that had been encampments for a while. We've been talking to SDOT off and on for a long time about trying to turn that into parking space as well. So really great question, something that we're actively focused on, and something that we will continue to push and try to find space. But as we all know, city is, it's not a lot of land around just for those kinds of things that are close in the way the system works. But it's good feedback, and something we were just talking internally about yesterday, about needing to get together with the city again to figure out what the status is on that space under the bridge.
Okay, looks like Andrew's hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something about the freight traffic. Early in the morning when the Terminal 18 opens down there, those freight trucks often block the intersections for regular cars to get through, and they also block the parking lots. And then you have trucks coming from one way, and then you have trucks coming from another way, and they're all trying to get through that intersection to get into that terminal gate. And they lay on their horns. It's insane. I'm just letting you guys know that. So I just wanted to mention that's an issue as well. So that was it. Thank you.
Anybody want to tackle
Andrew,
that
do you
one?
mean on Harbor Island itself, or east of the gate on Spokane Street?
Sorry, was that a question for me?
Yes.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Where are you talking about? East of the first gate on Spokane Street, or on Harbor Island itself?
On Harbor Island itself.
That's actually something we're working on with SDOT actively to see what we can do to clean that up.
Okay.
So what's the timeline on that then?
SDOT is actively talking to the businesses on the island before they finalize their decision.
And who at SDOT are you working with?
Chris Eves.
Chris Eves, all right. So it's not something that the bridge group is aware of, do you know?
They're aware. The SDOT's tightly connected on all these things. This is something. Yeah, Chris Eves is the freight lead for SDOT, and so he's been out there on Harbor Island for a long time. So it's something that Adia Memory from the operations team's aware of, and so it's Deb, happy to follow up with you more about this. This is something that definitely SDOT is actively engaged in. It's not that, I don't know if Heather in particular is tracking this particular piece, but it is something that Adiem, who's a peer of Heather's as a fellow director, is very engaged.
I just, as someone on the community task force, it may be good to know about things like that, because it's all to know about the entire problem, not just with the high bridge issue. So
Sure, I will follow up with SDOT about this. And as you know, Commissioner Steinbrook serves on the CTF alongside you. And so if it's something that SDOT would like us to talk about in greater detail, or they would, we're happy to support that effort.
I look forward to that. Thanks so much, Lindsay.
Thank you.
It looks like we've reached the end of the questions. So back to you, Michael.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If there aren't any more raised hands or whatever, we will thank our guests as always for being with us. You're always welcome back anytime to give us updates.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Hope to see
Well,
you
as
guys soon.
As a quick closing, yeah, those cranes, we'll be putting out information about good viewing sites and all of that, because it's going to be really cool to watch those things come in. So we'll be in touch with more information. In terms of the event piece, unfortunately, because of COVID, we're going to be limited probably to a media event, but we will still make sure to share with Michael and others details when we get closer. And apologies again, it's bath time for the little one in the background.
So are those cranes coming in like on separate boats, or are they all on one boat? Ship. Sorry.
They'll be the first batch will all be on one ship together. They'll be fully assembled.
Yeah,
and they have special sea bracing that they weld to the cranes and weld to points on the deck. And this has been done for some time now, and they've got the process of transporting them down.
So do you have to like stop air traffic or anything like that when they come through, or drones or?
I don't know. It's an excellent question.
They're not that big.
So glad you asked.
I don't believe the FAA has an issue there in terms of drone laws. That's a whole messy other piece, but we are hoping to get some shots of them from a drone. So
no kidding. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. Thanks again all for having us here today.
Thank you.
Martin,
Bye.
I see you with a hand up. Did you have a quick question for the port, or is it something else?
Well, I just had the save the date request, if I could.
We'll get to that.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
So thank you. Big round of applause to our guests.
All right. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It will get us back here to our slides. Quick, this month's public service announcement, if you will. That is a photo there. I think I stole from Ferries of the approaching the Fauntleroy terminal from the water. Just an FYI, if people aren't aware, tomorrow, Friday, April 23rd, is the deadline for applying to the Fauntleroy Terminal Project Community Advisory Group. Obviously, that'll have folks from sort of all different sides of the water and representing different communities. But actually, one of our contacts at Washington State Ferry said it would be great to see someone from the West Seattle Transportation Coalition apply to be part of that group. And I certainly think it doesn't need to be a board member. We would love to have, particularly interested stakeholders, maybe one of our Fauntleroy neighborhood supporters might be particularly interested in this. So just a heads up, that is due tomorrow. All the information about the role of the Community Advisory Group and how to submit an application can be found there at that web address, or just type Fauntleroy Terminal Project Community Advisory Group into a Google search, and that'll get you there as well. Moving along with tonight's agenda.
Michael?
Yes.
I did apply.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah, I put it
Thank
in
you
an
very much.
application, so.
Yay.
Yay. Well, we hope that you'll be considered.
Yeah.
Did you mark on your application that you'd be representing WSTC or are doing FCA?
Our group.
Oh,
not
good.
FCA.
Okay.
Yeah, I put in that I was associated with this group and I felt that I could bring that to the table.
I was going to suggest you if I didn't apply myself, and good, thank you.
Normally, I joke and say that saying you're from us might be a check mark against you, but But as I said, we did actually, that is a message that was passed along from one of our friends over there at Washington State Ferries, who said, I really want to make sure you guys apply.
Yeah.
How many
I've gotta
members are
go
they, how many
now,
members are they
so-
looking for?
All right, take care,
Well,
Mark.
everybody
Take
go.
care.
Good seeing you,
Take care
Chaz.
of the
and
family.
Hopefully you can join us more. So babysitting duty takes precedence now. Everybody have a nice night.
Night.
You too.
All right, a reminder of remaining items here on the agenda, and that it does spread out over the next half hour, although depending on what happens with this next item, it may be much less than half an hour. Because I have not been monitoring our participant window to see who's here. As folks may be aware, we are underway with recruiting some new board members. We have a number of currently vacant positions, although no requirements that all positions be filled. But we do have room for a number of new folks if they're interested. If some of those folks who've expressed interest are on the call and have decided they definitely would like to be on the board, I certainly invite you to raise your hand and we can give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves and talk about why you want to be on. Generally speaking though, we're going to do a call for interested new folks. We're going to sort of separate it out. Interested new folks to introduce themselves, if not tonight, at our May meeting. And we will take votes on the May meeting. And then a reminder that according to our bylaws, June is when normally our terms are up. So those of us who are in the odd numbered positions, because it's an odd numbered year, now's the time to think about whether you would like to stand up for re-election or step aside, etc. So give that some thought. But I think we're going to separate that out and sort of encourage new people to give them space. We'll entertain nominations if anyone decides to step forward in May, and then June we'll just limit opportunities for either folks to say their goodbyes and step down, or love to encourage anybody wanting to step down that you have a couple months here to recruit your replacement. And so for folks who want to learn more, there is the address for our website that has some information on the board. Is there anybody tonight? I do see at least one hand raised. Yes. Jeremy, you want to unmute yourself and give a chat?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. My name's Jeremy Barton. I work for Microsoft, which means I'm a commuter, and I live in North Admiral. And while I haven't known the group for more than this is my second meeting, I do like the awkward questions that we ask of people, and I like the all the times when sitting in traffic of the I wish there was something I could do about this. When I learned about this group, now I feel that there is something I could do about this. Like ask why I can't have a green arrow to turn right while waiting at that light, and then get the sad answer of because of problems.
Well, thank you for putting yourself forward, Jeremy. Could you tell us what neighborhood are you from?
North Admiral.
North Admiral. And do you have any particular interests around transportation? You know, are you biker, pedestrian, transit, ferry, all the above?
I mean, of modes that I regularly use is mostly my car. I did take the Microsoft connector once because I found a time that it had space on it. But otherwise, I love trains, but don't know how to drive them. And we don't have them here. And I fly small planes as a hobby, but not very often. Fascinating, but I only drive.
Any of our board members have other questions for Jeremy? Or I guess any of our members have any other questions for Jeremy? I see Chaz raising his hand.
Rules, are non-members still allowed to vote, or is it only board members that vote on board members?
We are quite honestly in kind of a gray area, which we've, let slide for a while here. Members are allowed to vote for board members, but of course, as we do not currently have membership dues, there is no way to say, well, you're a member, but you're not. So we do invite everybody who is in attendance, continuing attendance on the call. If you feel like you've been an active member, we certainly invite you to take part in the vote.
Thank you for that answer.
But yes, it is not only board members.
Right.
That is for officers. We do limit officers to board members. Any other questions?
Jeremy, are you willing to commit 2 nights a month to attending meetings with the Transportation Coalition?
If I'm on the board, then I am willing to guarantee. If I'm not on the board, then it's certainly best effort.
Fair enough.
Good question. Marty Westerman there, who's vice chair of our board. And a good reminder, I can't, we may have put this in the initial press release, but I know that I haven't brought it up when we've been talking here on the last couple of board meetings, that yeah, if anybody's wondering what exactly is the commitment that's being asked of you, if there are other folks out there still giving some consideration. We do have this monthly meeting, which generally is the 4th Thursday of every month, 6:30 to 8:30. And we do have a monthly board meeting where we meet separately as a board. That's usually the 3rd Tuesday. Sometimes the calendar doesn't play well with us. And that is an hour and a half. And then beyond that, there are no regular commitments, but just a reminder that we are currently an all volunteer board. And when we don't charge anybody membership dues, it means that we don't have a large budget to hire staff. So when we do occasionally plan large educational and outreach activities or other programs, we do sort of turn to the board members to kick in either wallet resources or sweat labor and various other things. So do keep that in mind. All hands on deck, yes. Chaz has another question.
So speaking of compensation, you fly, Jeremy. Do you take the Lincoln departure when you fly?
Well, I fly out of Renton, so
Oh,
I usually take the East Channel departure.
So, okay. Do you ever fly due west?
I enjoy when Seattle Tower gives me the clearance to do a SeaTac transition. I've gotten some nice pictures while doing that.
I was going to say, so one of the things that we have always looked for is the aerial view of the transportation arterials that we depend upon, because we can't really get what we need out of Google Earth, et cetera. And I forget the guy's name who flies a Piper out of West Seattle all the time and gets these great shots. But if this is something that, if you are on the board, and you're willing to do something like that, those are the kinds of assets that we, the residents of West Seattle and the board itself, really find valuable. So you could bring some amazing new assets to this board if you consider something like that.
Certainly. Technically, as a private pilot, I can't do things if I'm getting paid, but as long as the board members don't get paid, then the FAA would have no qualms with me taking pictures best effort.
Well, there we go, everyone. We've recruited traffic engineers to the board, but now we may finally have our own aerial photographer as part of the board.
I'll jump in having said that. So that I'm Larry, I'm here in Admiral, and Mark Jacobs, we are the 2 traffic engineers on the board. So we're both here. And so Jeremy, just want to invite you if you want to get together here sometime for a coffee or something to chat. Oh, we could do that.
The other commitment we make, and this is a soft commitment, is researching different issues in some depth and getting ourselves connected with elected officials and other folks who are connected with transportation. So it's an invitation to you to do that. And I got on board, for example, because of some bus transportation issues. and ended up getting involved. So, but researching bus transportation issues and electeds and so on. So each of us has kind of been drawn in little by little until we're deep into it. So it's something to think about and prepare yourself for, because it's pretty easy to get sucked in once you're involved. Yeah, I know.
I am quite familiar with and find enjoyable the Wikipedia rabbit hole and similar things. And I have been known to have times where I basically just read US title code, because like, what does it really mean to be a strawberry milkshake? The FDA has strong opinions on both of those words.
Yeah.
Can't call it peanut butter unless it has sugar. Otherwise, it's a spread.
Yeah.
So, yes, things of that nature are, dare I say, enjoyable.
Great.
Well, I would move. So I would like to nominate Jeremy Barton to position 1 on the West Seattle Transportation Coalition Board, which would be a 2-year board term running until June of 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of welcoming Jeremy to the board, and that again does include non-board members may vote as well. Please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Mark, Michael,
Okay. Oh, yes.
are we gonna have any discussion?
We can have a discussion. I'm sorry. Yes.
So you are going to fill, so you propose that we fill an odd position in advance of the normal odd positions coming open?
Yes. As we spoke about in our board meeting earlier this month, I think you were still there, but maybe not. We decided, since we have a number of vacant positions and there weren't any objections to growing large again, if so be it, that if we have new people interested, we'd like to invite those new people to join us. So yes.
Oh, I mean, that's fine, but I mean, you're I guess the normal board positions get filled in June.
Yes.
So
I'm just advancing new people so we can give time to break them in.
but I guess, well, theoretically, I mean, why not put them in an even position?
Well, I guess I could extend that option to Jeremy if he'd like to only commit for a year right now.
I'm just saying, strictly speaking, I mean, if you put him in an odd position, then, you know, he's up for renewal in June. Not really. I mean, he really shouldn't be filling a
No,
board
he's
position for more than 2 years.
I am open to that pushback. Although, believe it or not, as I glance over the cheat sheet, I don't think we have any open. I think all the positions that are open happen to be odd, which is rather funny. But that is what I see. Yes.
Oh, you are correct.
So I guess that is a moot point.
Does he have to be re-nominated in June when his term runs out on this odd position?
Technically speaking, yes, but I think I think that's easy enough to scoot into the motion.
Well, so what if all of a sudden we get 20 people who decided to apply in June?
Chances of that happening, John, are what?
I realize the odds.
I would love to have that problem.
Yeah.
If that problem presents itself, I might consider vacating my position and letting one of them take it.
And if nothing else, I think it would be a very funny story to tell people if I held a board position for 2 months and lost re-election.
There you go.
Well, I guess if we're putting somebody in an even or in an odd position, I would still, I mean, it may be come June a perfunctory matter of
yes,
of
sure.
renewing, but I would say let's, right now we have a position that's open until June, and if you take it, there's almost certainty that if you're still interested in continuing on, that you'll be re-upped for 2 years. But I guess I wouldn't exclusively take one position and fill it for a unusual term beyond the normal term.
I will withdraw in the interest of keeping us moving. I will withdraw my motion, and I will make a new motion to appoint Jeremy Barton to the currently vacant position 1 until our regular elections in June.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
The only
No.
suggestion I would offer is that
No.
seems to be the way that state judges and state representatives and U.S. Congress members are appointed in the interim between an election. I kind of
That
like
is true.
John's initial point, which was let's do this and then do it pro forma in June, but appointing him now and then re-electing in June makes just as much sense and is more legal.
Sounds good. Well, see, but now we might scare him away in 2 months. You never know.
Oh my God.
But we're
All right.
satisfying the bylaws. So
All
that's good.
those in favor of the appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Welcome,
I
Jeremy.
guess I'll
Welcome to the
say
board.
abstentions in case there are any board members who want to abstain.
All right.
All right.
Aye.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Yay.
Amongst other things, you'll want to make sure that John has your email so that he can add you to our board email list and we can start pestering you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone else hiding in the participants list who wanted to introduce themselves and possibly step
Phil's
forward
hand is
for an
up.
appointment?
Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Must be Phil Frick, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Hello, Phil.
Hi. My name is Phil Frick. I've been a resident of the Admiral neighborhood for 7 years. I'm a semi-retired, own a commercial brokerage firm. I'm on the board of the Admiral Neighborhood Association. I'm on the board of trustees for the Historical Society, and I'm a hub captain at Hiawatha Park for the emergency preparedness. And if you need somebody, I'm here.
Great.
Does that mean that you're interested in a board position?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Then are you interested in an interim appointment until June?
Whichever is most convenient for you.
And that would be position 5 would be the next one up for filling. Are there any questions for Phil?
Phil, how did you, oh, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in. Phil, you do a lot, and you volunteer a lot, and I can relate to that. What's important about transportation for you?
Well, I've always been interested in, obviously because it's not that important for me to get on and off the bridge because I'm semi-retired, but I do have some friends that live down in the Belvedere area and that so on, and the port and the noise from the port and just general transportation issues in general. I just am very excited about it and that's why I've been volunteering for some of the other positions and have been keeping in touch with what you guys have been doing. And I recognize several of you from different calls and so on. So like I say, I'm here if you need somebody, it'd be great.
Thanks.
So not seeing, oh wait, Marty, did you have any question? No?
No, Deb asked my question.
Okay.
Oh
I will make a motion to appoint Phil Frick to vacant position 5 on the board to serve until elections in June.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And are there any board members abstaining for any reason? All right. Well, welcome aboard, Phil.
Welcome, Phil.
Welcome, Phil.
Hey, thanks. Great to be with you guys.
Same as before. If we do not already have your email address, make sure to send a private chat message there to John Wright so we can get you added to our board email list.
Will do. Thank you.
Who else?
And was there anyone else? I don't think there was on the list, but I may have missed people. So last call here, if there was someone and I've missed you.
Well, we need a fifth person from Admiral. Let's take over this group.
Please.
Yeah, we're gonna start leaning to the north. What's happening? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I
Can you
said
speak up?
the Arbor Heights folks are the more disadvantaged, but
know.
Admiral second for sure.
There you go.
Yeah. Are Thomas or Andrew interested?
I will remind board members that I have had expressions of interest from other folks as well, who may be
Okay.
joining us yet next month.
Okay.
I am from Admiral, but I am just sitting in for this one. First time here, guys. It's been great.
Good.
Thank you for coming.
Of
Thank
course.
you for attending.
Thank you for speaking up, Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know, guys.
No. Think about it.
That's all
I don't know
right.
about that.
You got time to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think my views on transportation are a little different than some other people's on here. So
That's why we would want
I
you
say
on the
that's like
board.
Yeah, that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh.
opinion.
We love having you come to these meetings still, Andrew.
all right, thank you. Well, I'll think about it. All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
And
Thank
you
you.
know, feel free to volunteer and do as much as you want without being on the board as well.
Oh, I'm doing that already.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Keeping us moving here towards the end. Old business. Speaking of other volunteers that are not necessarily board members, I will make another plea again. We're still kind of debating the pluses and minuses of pursuing further status beyond our current Washington State nonprofit status. It also seems like a good time to let the board know I just got our notice to make our report for the year, which I will be doing. So yeah, if there's anybody who's walked through the process of helping establish an organization with federal IRS tax-free status, you know, we're looking for expertise and comments and possibly help in doing so.
Well, the Admiral Neighborhood Association treasurer knows how to do that. Just saying, all you Admiral people. Carrie McCann.
I have
Good
talked to
point.
Carrie. Carrie has said that, it's Larry here. Carrie has said that she is happy to help get that going.
There we go.
Great.
All
Carrie's
right.
awesome.
Yeah, she is.
I will move us on to new business. We have a hand long held up from Martin.
That's right, Martin.
So I will let you go ahead, Martin. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Oh, you're welcome, you guys. I've been on a number of your calls. I don't think I've ever really spoken up, but my name is Marty Tellerico. I live in Alaska Junction. And I've been a big proponent of the public banking system. I'm a semi-retired brokerage employee, but we wanted to make you aware of a webinar that's coming up on Tuesday regarding the National Infrastructure Bank bill. And it's quite timely because Biden in his program that he's announcing, I think he's requesting $2 trillion, but the ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers, estimated to be, and this was as of last year, $6.1 trillion. The National Infrastructure Bank is not a new idea. It's been used several times before, but not in the last 70 years. And what it would do, it would create a $5 trillion lending capacity by capitalizing on short-term U.S. Treasury notes that are held throughout the world. It passed with bipartisan support out of last year's Congress. It's being considered again now. I've learned recently that it's gaining some real legs right now. Biden is actually his official, everything I've heard him say, he's open to all ideas. I think this might be one. I think it could totally transform our economy to really get us started again. And I think we all know that is so sorely needed. So I would invite you to attend the meeting. So it's during the day. I know a lot of people work. It's 1 o'clock on Tuesday. But if you'd like any more information and be kept up on this, my email, I put it in the chat, and my phone number, please feel free to reach out to me. I just thought it's just great to be here. You guys did a really good call tonight. Very informative. You have some great board members, and I thank you for all you all do for in the forefront and what you're doing for the community. So thank you very much. And I'm willing to take any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
I have a question, but I don't do numbers and stuff. Who's putting on this thing on Tuesday?
That's a good question. I've been kind of spearheading it. I'm looking, if you guys want to, I'm looking for people that want to get their name out it's not going to cost any money or anything like that, but I've just been doing this on my end. I've reached out to the League of Women Voters in King County. I've reached out to the Washington Bernie Kratz, Seattle Indivisible, Washington Apple Care, Whole Washington rather. So I'm hoping for some good attendance. There'll be leaders from the coalition of the National Infrastructure Bank. They're very good people, very knowledgeable. And it's very exciting. I think, like I said, I think it could really be transformative, not only for the economy, but for the public banking concept throughout that's actually taking fire across the nation, and really help serve underserved communities.
Thank you.
I know the progressives around here have been very excited about this issue back since Bob Hasegawa started to bring it up in Olympia when he was down there. But have you also, aside from us, have you talked to some of the other more activist transportation groups?
I have not.
Area? I know but it's either Seattle Transit Blog or the Seattle Subway Group has also actually, I know, been talking quite a bit about the role of public banks in creating the ability to better support infrastructure.
Yes.
And the Urbanist might be another, media / volunteer activist group that might be interested in coming in and putting their name on and supporting this.
And don't remember the Transit Writers Union.
Yeah. I haven't been writing any of these down. Is there anyone that I can connect with to get this more?
Michael and Marty.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk with you more. Or, you can always go back and click to the end of this video when it's online, and you'll have it all captured right there.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, no, reach out to Marty and I, and we can grab coffee or walk along the beach or something that's COVID appropriate.
And the coalition would be willing to get on one of these calls too, if we wanted to bring other groups together to learn more about it at a future date. So they're really busy, but they're always available, and very, like I said, very good people.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, Deb, I believe you're up with a motion.
Thank you. I flooded your email on Tuesday. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday and Wednesday about something going on in the Transportation Committee. You may recall 1 or 2 months ago that the vehicle tabs were proposed to be directed, start vehicle tabs for the city of Seattle and direct them funds towards bridge maintenance, which made a hell of a lot of sense. That was the proposal. And in committee, it got hijacked by, it got reappropriated to be spread to a whole lot more than just bridges. So Councilmember Peterson, who I offered to reach out to, told me that he has been working on an amendment to what was being proposed by SDOT for this. And that was up for discussion on Wednesday morning. it was pretty frustrating. I tried to get on that call and, you know, dialed in early at 7:30 to get on and all that crap. And I couldn't connect my phone, my *6. And so I couldn't do public comment. And I was furious because I didn't hear anyone else speaking, West Seattleites speaking about the need for bridge maintenance to have more funding. So I need to write a letter, which I'm just going to take my comments that I was going to read into the record and put them in my letter. But what I'd like to ask my colleagues is if the Transportation Coalition can sign on to a letter supporting the amendment that's proposed and up for discussion to increase, and that would help increase funding for bridge maintenance and repair. So
Yeah, let's put it on our letterhead.
Yeah, I'm looking for a letter that's crafted and gets out pretty darn quick.
Can do.
I'm going to admit that I don't understand it, so I can't support it since I don't fully understand what leveraging the car tab money really means.
It means an extra pot of money that we don't have.
So there was money that
It
was
means
on
immediate
hold.
money, yes.
Sort of,
But we're
yeah. There's money
paying
that was
interest
on
that money later.
There's money that was on hold because we didn't know if the case over the Sound Transit stuff was going to wipe out fees and different things like that. The Tim Eyman initiative.
Yeah.
And so yeah, when that got defeated by the courts, that sort of freed up the ability to have license tabs as part of our Seattle Transportation Benefit District continuing. But that was supposed to be sunsetting at the end of last year, and so it's currently unassigned again. And both Peterson and Councilmember Herbold had sort of highlighted this lack of bridge maintenance, and we still don't have enough to catch up. But that why shouldn't this money be there? Speaking personally, obviously not on behalf of the whole board, I've been a little disappointed at how quickly all of the other sort of constituencies, if you will, jumped up around this. In particular, I've seen, our usual Greenways colleagues, as well as Safe Routes to Schools. But sort of speaking personally, we have a lot of funding that goes into Safe Routes to Schools. I don't know that we need another dedicated one. And, a lot of folks see bridge maintenance as being just about cars. But as we've seen, we've got a lot of bridges in this city, and, our buses go over them. In a lot of cases, these bridges aren't a big high bridge, but they're things connecting roadways, like right up by, the Admiral Bridge, to get from the top down towards the bridge. There's a little bridge that you have to go across there that, and we have a lot of things like that. And so bicyclists, pedestrians, like everybody needs our bridges to be up and ready to go. And in particular, because, if we all think it's terrible to have to take our car and drive in our car, 3 miles out of the way to go through a detour, you can imagine what that would be like in some of our more hilly neighborhoods. If you lose that short little bridge access, the walking detour or the biking detour is rather significant. And so I'm totally in favor of us getting
it's more that the amendment is not just allocating the money differently. It's like it's borrowing on that future money to get a lump sum up front. Yes.
It's I can't speak to that because
I wish Newell was still on the call, because I don't know. I don't think that's true. I don't
understanding
think
is they're
bonding against it.
They're bonding against it. They are bonding against it.
We are.
Yeah. There was something I got to it and I didn't print it out, but Seattle City Council Insight did have a summary of what happened. And Marty, you actually went to the meeting yesterday. You attended the meeting?
Part of the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have the full, I just know I support the amendment because it's throwing more money at bridges. I don't know the nitty gritty and I apologize, but I'm,
Okay.
can you still?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to bridges, but I guess I wish that money could have gone to buses to make our transit benefit district whole again, because we will
Right
have
now,
less
the
bus
money's going
service
to
now.
4 different quadrants.
Yeah, but I just wish like the next Move Seattle levy could be bridges, and this money could be put towards the bus service we're losing.
Everyone's still gonna be
So
having their swing at the next Move Seattle too. They're,
Well, I guess why is it essential that we, pick where this money is going? I mean, that's, to me, it seems like when you start having, when you end up with a budget that's full of a bunch of, this 0.1% of sales tax is dedicated to this.
because this stupid
You have
council doesn't apportion money logically and give it to where it's needed. So you end up with everybody running at the same pot and trying to get their chunk out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess, there's theoretically lots of wonderful things that this could be spent on, and I would.
Well, I've got one comment here.
Okay, I'm still talking. You can
Go ahead.
Sorry,
John.
Yeah, I guess I just don't see that. I see that we start getting into minutia when we're advocating for specific revenue streams being dedicated to specific activities. And I'm not getting, I'm all in favor of bridges being maintained, but I just don't think that that's what I would like to see us getting.
I was just asking for us to support the amendment, but I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, the funds are going to get dedicated to specific budget lines. And if they are going to bond against it, they're going to bond against it. So that's not what's up for debate. It's literally the split. And Marty can chat in a second, but I found here, oops, rats, I just lost the slide.
What Newell had sent?
Here is, can I make it bigger? Here is what is proposed. So this is the current plan, is to divide it up this way, with 28% going to safe sidewalks, 28% going to safe streets, 24% to strong bridges and structures, and then there's a couple other small pieces here. And like I said, one of the concerns I have is that while I love, and we totally aren't spending enough on streets and sidewalks, they do already have dedicated funding sources that go to them, whereas there is nothing dedicated to bridges and structures, which is why we keep falling further behind.
Can I ask something? So to Kate's concern, this money is going to be allocated no matter what. So whether, okay. Right. So Kate, does that answer your concern, knowing that it's not whether you could stop it, the amendment is going to go through, it's where the money goes?
I guess I'm just registering my disappointment that it didn't go to buses, and we can't complain that there's no bus service because we decreased the transit benefit district overall, and this was our chance to make it better. Obviously, neither of these choices is
on the table,
funding buses. So I don't like this little sprinkling little bits of money all over the place either. But I just don't fully understand the bonding process. And I mean, am I right that it means that we get the money up front, we could spend it how we want, and then we just pay interest on that? And so we sort of get less money overall, but we get the money up front?
It's really just sort of swapping the money around. I
Don't we
mean,
have
in
to
this
vote on
case,
this
this
stuff?
isn't general bonding. It would be bonded just against this tax. So it's based on these revenues, and this it goes in, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 7-year things. Maybe you remember, Deb. 6 or 7. It should be 6 or 7 years. I can't remember which one.
You can also
but
go
so,
to Newell, what
yeah.
Newell put in the chat and look at that
Yeah.
press thing.
So how does
But-
this come into being? Don't we have to vote on this?
It's council voting on it.
Yeah, so the council has this is a portion of the fee that council can institute itself by its own vote.
Yep.
Because we already voted for the transportation district?
Yes. Yes.
So here's
Boy, we made a big mistake on that one, didn't we?
And there are additional fees above this that we voted to approve and that go to different things as well.
So it's one in a long string of mistakes, but to Michael's point, if safe streets and safe sidewalks are already funded, Madison answered, of the questions I asked Madison, I asked about the Low Bridge work that's underway. It's new issues. It's not part of the West Seattle Bridge Transportation Corridor to-do list. The Low Bridge repairs are reducing structural stuff for the Low Bridge, but I wanted to know how much of a budget shortfall for maintenance is plaguing SDOT, and her answer is pretty much 80%. So right now, SDOT's got 20% of the money it needs to repair bridges, which isn't enough, obviously, because they're just throwing the money wherever the emergency shows up. Most of our neighborhoods are connected by bridges: the Montlake Bridge, the Ballard Bridge, the Aurora Bridge, the High Bridge, the Low Bridge, the First Avenue Bridge. We need the money to keep those things in repair. So how, if there's no dedicated source of money to do that, then, and there already is sourcing for the safe streets and safe sidewalks, then let's find some way to put the money toward bridges, which are necessary connectors for all of Seattle. So I'm in favor of writing in favor of this amendment for that very reason. If safe streets weren't covered, if safe sidewalks weren't covered, and there's no planning ahead budget, there's no strategic planning budget either. So SDOT is just running like a chicken with its head cut off.
No, right here, 7%.
Yeah. So
just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. So
why are we building new things that will that will require maintenance if we can't currently maintain what we already have?
Well, why are we building stuff we can never afford to maintain? So so let's start throwing the money at the maintenance if we can find the money, and apparently we found some money we can throw at maintenance.
But it is one chunk, so further maintenance down the road we'll have to get from something else.
Well, there's the planning ahead budget of 7%.
That'll be another revenue bond, which we will vote on next year.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way to do this.
I know.
Well, the tax on capital gains may or may not prove to be useful.
If it gets passed.
I mean,
if it doesn't survive this, the courts, it doesn't matter if it gets passed.
Do we want to take a vote to have Deb write a letter? Do we want to have Deb write a letter and then look at the letter first? There's not a lot of time.
But Deb, what is our time on it to get the letter done?
I don't know. I'm still pissed from yesterday. Hang on. Let me look at what Newell sent again.
Okay.
Because they didn't vote on it yesterday, but they do have Peterson, Herbold, Lewis, Mosqueda, and Deborah Juarez were speaking positively about it yesterday. Crap, is there no deadline? City Council will consider and ultimately pass. So there was just a briefing yesterday, and I think it goes to council I don't think it's on the 26th, which is the next council meeting, but it
So-
may be that fast. It could
So
be.
does it need to get voted out of committee before it goes to the
Right,
full
so maybe it
council?
is 2
So,
weeks. So it'd be the first May Transportation Committee meeting. Thank you for that reminder.
okay.
And I don't know when that is.
So how quickly could you draft a letter for us to review, Deb?
Marty and I could work on it this weekend.
Okay.
So board, what do you think about having them draft a letter and then review it quickly for them and make a decision?
Yeah.
I don't really want to have, I just want to recommend approval or recommend support the amendment. I just want to write that and not have to throw a whole bunch in. Unless someone else wants to write it. That's all I wanted was us to write that we supported the amendment.
Well, Marty and I got a bunch of responses from Madison today, so I don't know if Marty needs to look through that. Maybe there's some more info we could put in. So I'm fine with us saying that the board's considering this, and we'll take a board vote offline.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because the other thing is, if the board does not go for it on coalition letterhead, then we just send it in as personal letters.
Well, right, and I'm doing that anyway. I just
Yeah.
I just felt it was appropriate for us to.
I mean, I'd rather have the clout of the coalition behind this.
Exactly, but the personal endorsements are also good.
All right.
Okay.
Cognizant of the fact that it's 8:44.
Yeah.
I want to keep us moving. Is there any additional new business?
Well, I have a question pertaining to Kate's question pertaining to the letter. Does WSTC have a procedure or a bylaw which basically states how many board members need to be on board to send a letter on letterhead?
We just operate with a majority right now for all actions of the board.
Okay.
Are you suggesting it should be lower or higher than that, or are you just asking?
That this is exactly the kind of thing that boards usually come with, and you've got a 6-7 split like the Supreme Court. Do you get a minority opinion when you send a majority opinion letter
Oh my God,
out?
we're just trying to get someone to write the damn letter.
No, we just do majority for actions.
Well,
All right.
I'm asking the dumb question, obviously.
Okay. Then
Love your questions, Chaz.
To wrap up, I will highlight that we've got some upcoming. This is not next month's, but some of the upcoming topics that we are locking in right now for the next couple of months is having Washington State Ferries come and talk to us a little bit more about the Fauntleroy Way Terminal project. I don't know why that's a tongue twister for me. We also are putting together a conversation with Mike Lindblom from the Seattle Times, chatting with him a little bit about some of his perspectives as a transportation reporter here and the traffic lab team that works at Seattle Times. Yes, Mike, like many of our guests and speakers, Mike is also a resident of West Seattle and is familiar with all of the craziness we are dealing with.
Yep.
And if you are on Facebook and you have not been to our coalition page or chosen to follow us, do stop by West Seattle TC, where we post lots of news or now live streaming of our meetings. And since we are well past 8:30, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I would like to say one thing real quick. If you don't know, myself and a couple other people are going to be doing some forums for the Seattle City Mayor and 2 open city council positions and the city attorney, collecting questions. So if you have some questions you'd like us to ask, please email them to me.
Oh yeah. Okay.
There you go. And for those who are following along, if you would like to send email to Larry, you can send it through the WSTC. Our contact email is info, I-N-F-O, at westseattletc.org. So westseattletc.org. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I made a motion.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Goodbye,
Aye.
everyone. We will chat with you soon,
Goodbye.
especially new board members. You'll be hearing from us soon.
Welcome,
Hi,
Jeremy.
everyone.
Phil.
Thank you.
Welcome, Al.
Marty, I'll talk to you.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Okay.